Oh, hi there. Sorry, it's been a long day. Come on in. I just hope Mike's not up to anything too crazy.
Hey Dave, what is love?
Huh?
Yeah, love.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, what is love?
You're asking me what is love?
Yeah,
Why?
I was just thinking about it.
You were just thinking about it.
I was listening to the radio, and a song came on and made me think of love.
Was the song
The
What Is
song
Love?
What is Love? It's by Adam.
I'm familiar with the song.
It's a good song.
It's really not.
It's an okay song.
Okay.
Oh, that reminds me. We got a letter from a fan.
We don't have fans.
And the letter said, hey, you guys are really good and talented, but I had a question.
Is the question,
and the question
what
is,
is love?
What is love?
This is your handwriting.
It's a valid question, though.
That doesn't make the letter real.
Fan worked really hard on that.
Mm-hmm. Who is the fan?
I'm the fan.
Did you count as a fan?
I'm very supportive.
Fair enough. This is a pretty thinly veiled setup, don't you think? It's,
Bad?
I wasn't gonna say bad.
You're very supportive.
Well, I'm a big fan.
Would you like to read the script?
Sure, give me the script. This is a pretty good script.
That's only the title page.
Well, actually, it's only the template for a title page.
Check again.
How do we think about the relationships in our lives? A common way is with a continuum like this one. People begin as strangers, become acquaintances, and then eventually friends. At the farthest end of the affection spectrum is your partner and your family. Of course, this model puts a cap on the level of affection you can ever have for a friend who isn't of a gender you find attractive. And if the other person doesn't feel the same way, does that mean you have less affection for them? That isn't reflected on this scale. For that matter, what if you're closer with an unmarried partner or a friend than with your family? What about family members that you don't like all that much? They don't stop being family, but they must be somewhere else on this scale. And well, maybe this doesn't actually work that well at all. What if instead of categorizing by relationship, we instead categorize types of love? We can say, for instance, that there are three kinds: platonic love, familial love, and romantic love. What is platonic love? Well, typically it's marked by a deep affection for another person, distinct from mere fondness. This affection is often self-sacrificing. Love can drive us to go out of our own way to help or encourage someone, even when it is inconvenient, unpleasant, or even detrimental to what we ourselves want. Familial love also includes a deep affection for the other person, but also often includes an element of caretaking or investment in and responsibility for another person's well-being. Whether this means taking care of children or sick family, working together to accomplish household duties, or just carpooling around town, familial love carries with it a sense of duty to look after one another. Romantic love includes both the affection and shared responsibilities of platonic and familial love, but introduces physical or sexual attraction, something absent from the other two kinds. Except, well, life is complicated. Romantic couples don't necessarily have to take care of one another. There are tons of deeply independent people who trust or expect their partners to be self-reliant to varying degrees. There are partners who don't share a bank account, for example, and couples in separate dwellings pay rent separately. Interdependence is common, but it's optional. As for sexual attraction, what about asexual couples? What about people on medication that might depress libido? What about aging couples whose sex drives have declined? These people may not feel sexual desire, or they may experience it to a lesser degree, but few would argue that, for example, a septuagenarian couple 50 years into a supportive marriage is any less in love for it. If you're following me so far, you already know you can't say you've never been attracted to a friend. And moreover, I doubt I'm the only one to have ever offered a friend money or a place to sleep or emotional support in a caregiving capacity. Familial love doesn't necessarily include a caregiving aspect either. An infant isn't caring for their parent, it's the other way around. In this way, while a familial relationship often includes a caregiving aspect, familial love may or may not. As for physical attraction, well, it's an uncomfortable subject, but it isn't always absent. So let's try again. Romantic love is a strong affection for another person, which may or may not involve a caretaking aspect or sexual attraction. Familial love is a strong affection for another person, maybe a caretaking role, and hopefully not, but still possibly, a sexual attraction. And platonic love is affection, maybe caretaking, and maybe sexual attraction. We might need a new model.
Love is a strong affection for another person, often a self-sacrificing affection, which is stronger than and distinct from mere fondness. Love can manifest in all sorts of different ways in different kinds of relationships. There are some people we love who we want to care for, or some who we don't want to care for but decide to anyway. There are some people we love who we want to have sex with, and some who we don't. There are others who we just want to hug or pat on the back or display any kind of affection that seems appropriate. And there are all sorts of reasons for choosing certain relationship dynamics, as I'll call them, from social pressure, desire, guilt, a momentary passion, or even a long-term commitment. Speaking generally, friends share love but don't have a sexual relationship, unless of course they're friends with benefits. A hookup does involve a sexual relationship, but that relationship could be temporary or ongoing, and it might involve love or it might not. Family members may love each other, they may engage in caretaking of one kind or another. Whether a family member is related by blood or not depends on whether they're family of birth or family of choice. Partners typically love each other, usually have some kind of physical relationship, and may choose to be interdependent to varying degrees. And if all these labels seem increasingly many and increasingly difficult to pin down, maybe that's because they should be. When faced with the way we are trying to understand gender and sexuality in the 21st century, a lot of people feel overwhelmed by all the L's and G's and B's and T's and Q's. The framework that previous generations used to try to understand the world, binary, straight or gay, man or woman, just doesn't seem as useful anymore. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. Sooner or later, we have to just start dealing with people as individuals, with whatever kinds of preferences or identities they bring to the table. And I think it might benefit us to do the same thing with love. Once we acknowledge how fuzzy the boundaries can be between friends, family, and partners, and how much those boundaries tend to shift over the course of a relationship, it tends to make more sense to just deal with each relationship on a case-by-case basis. You have a very different relationship with each person you love. No two are the same. Ask any parent about this, and they have a certain intuitive understanding of it. Which of your children do you love the most? Which of your friends? Which of your family members? The struggle to answer isn't just familial politics. It's because love isn't quantitative. It's qualitative, and it takes the form of an infinite number of different kinds of relationships. I struggled for a while with the idea of making this video personal. I don't usually like talking about my personal life online or giving up too much personal information. I like my privacy. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized this topic is inevitably personal, right? If I'm going to make an argument about how we all experience love and relationships with other people differently in every one-to-one relationship, of course that's personal. And it's really hard to talk about without discussing how I came to that conclusion myself. For me, it all came with the realization that when I said I love my friends, I love my family, I love my partner, I just didn't feel like those were different emotions. Of course, I love my friends and my family and my partners differently, but not any more so than I love one friend different from any other friend. Right? There are some people I like to joke with, some I want to watch movies with, some I want to have deep conversations with. There are others that I need a hug from or care from. I've needed emotional intimacy from almost all of those people. And deep down, I knew that I would do anything for any one of those friends, family, or partners. I didn't come to any conclusions overnight, and I don't expect you to either. Instead, that realization just made me think more about the feelings that I was experiencing, which inspired me to look a little more closely about what makes love love. So, what are some of the conclusions I came to? I made the comparison to sexuality earlier, and it may not be that surprising that love and sexuality are closely related. But the more my thoughts about sexuality have changed over the years, the less concerned I've become with finding a label for my sexuality or anyone else's. If we accept every study of human sexuality from Kinsey onward, we know that almost no one is 100% straight or 100% gay. In this theory of relationship dynamics, it's just a matter of preference for the kinds of relationships that we like to have with men or with women. Different people want to do different things, sexually or platonically, with people of different sexes, genders, body types, personalities, and so on. And for those of us who have friends who are male and friends who are female, friends who are non-binary, don't we already love both men and women? I mean, does that make everybody bi? Do we need to all start charting our numbers on the Kinsey scale? I honestly don't know. And I can't really say that I care. I just prefer to treat each relationship on a case-by-case basis. As a quick aside, I'm not saying that labels don't have their place. As we mentioned in the point, labels can be a very useful tool, particularly for organizing or identifying ourselves to others. But like any other tool, labels can be useful in some contexts and limiting in others. So what does this mean for romantic partners? If love is neither a binary nor a gradient, but is entirely unique for every person in our lives, how can we justify putting one person on top and crowning them husband, wife, partner, soulmate? Well, I don't think we can. Not exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with giving a special label to someone with whom you share your home, your life, your aspiration, your secrets. Of course not. But to say that we can only give this kind of love to a single person, I think it artificially limits our own development and our own relationships. I mean, imagine trying to say to someone you've just met that you're fine being friends, but no matter how close you get, you will never invite them to your home because you already invited someone else. That's the kind of thing that we do all the time, limiting the development of our relationships because the kind of relationships we already have. It's not to say you're obligated to become intimate partners with everyone you love. No more than a single person is obligated to go out with every single person who asks. There are limits on our time, on our emotional bandwidth. That's just the sad truth of the world. We make decisions all the time about the kinds of people we go to lunch with, whose texts we respond to right away, who we forge certain relationships with. That's just normal. But if I can urge you to do one thing before the end of the video, I really hope it'll be this. Please don't arbitrarily limit the love that you offer the world. Your heart doesn't diminish as you give pieces of it to different people in your life. It's a muscle that grows stronger the more care you exercise. When I was a teenager, I used to say that I only had the energy to care for my small circle of friends and family, and that the rest of the world could burn for all I care. I don't think that I was intentionally being selfish. I think that I honestly believed that was the limit of the compassion that I was capable of. But as my attitudes about love have changed over the years, as I've met and come to care for all sorts of different kinds of people, I started to grow more comfortable expressing that love for my friends and family, and was sharing different parts of myself, and in turn people have opened up to me. The compassion I felt for even people I just had brief interactions with grew. Now when I walk down the street and I pass people shivering in the cold, or laughing with their children, asking for change, or rushing to work, I recognize the sympathy that I feel for them as a kind of love. I read about the struggles of people all across the world and all across history, and I feel love for people that I've never even seen. And just like the epiphany that I had years ago, that I love my friends, partners, and family all the same, I'm starting to grapple with what it means to discover this deep care for a broader segment of humanity, and what I ought to do to act out of that love for all mankind. In 2017, the YouTuber AnarchoPack made a video titled Anarchism and Love that really spoke to me, and it helped me connect my feelings about love with my ideas about what would constitute a fairer and more desirable society. In the video, AnarchoPack discusses the writings of Enrico Malatesta, an Italian anarchist who believed that a love for all humankind was inextricably linked to the fight for radical equality. Now, I'm not going to repeat AnarchoPack's video. I really recommend that you go and watch it on your own. But I will leave you by paraphrasing some of Malatesta's words that have stuck with me the most. Our ideas have their origins in a feeling of love, respect, and sympathy for humanity, a feeling which must be strong enough to make us desire the well-being of others as much as we desire our own, and to renounce those personal advantages which would involve the sacrifice of others. Without that love for humanity, what is there to keep us from ourselves just becoming the next oppressor? Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. This program was brought to you by viewers like you. A special thank you to all of our patrons, including Justin. To become a patron, go to patreon.com/neighborhood_MD. For more updates and content, follow The Neighborhood on Twitter, and watch our weekly stream every Friday on Twitch. Thank you for watching.